Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here, back again with a massive mountain of zombies news with no nonsense in it, and we're going to start off with some global changes that I'm really excited about. First, Treyarch are trying to fix the issue where you accept an invite from your friend, but you do not get put into their party. This has been an issue since the game came out. I'm sure you guys have had the same problems that I've had where you just can't join your friends and it's infuriating, but in this patch they've addressed some instances where that's happened and fixed that bug, so that's pretty exciting. In terms of weapons, there are also quite a few balance changes coming with this patch. There's some stuff that's MP specific, but there is also some stuff that really does affect the zombies mode. So I'm going to run through some of the most important ones now. The RPG is getting buffed, which is kind of insane to me because the RPG is already really good in my opinion, but it now has a bigger blast radius and it's going to remain on its straight flight path longer before it starts deviating and kind of wiggling around in the air. So those are both buffs that I didn't expect, but I'm going to welcome with open arms. The Milano is also getting pretty heavily buffed with higher damage ranges, higher damage at those ranges, higher sprint out speed, and higher raise speed. There are also some very welcome KSP buffs coming through with faster ballistics and also reducing burst delay, which I think are long overdue at this point. Happy to see that happening. The change that I let you guys know about in a video a few days ago, where you can now equip weapon blueprints mid-game and put those on your guns, is now live as well. You do it via the game's pause menu and it works on any weapon you pick up or anything you require from a wall buy as well. And according to Treyarch, who I spoke to in a call about this a couple of weeks ago, you will soon also be able to add camos to weapons that you pick up or get out of the mystery box and stuff like that as well, so you're not stuck with the default camos or just the default blueprint camos, which is exciting. There are a couple of other global changes that I want to get to, but first, seeing as we're getting a bit deeper into the video now, I want to show you guys what the new Outbreak map looks like. Sanatorium Night is now in the game, and I think it's pretty damn cool. It also comes with a new objective called Secure, and it works like this. You've got two little pylons that are going to spawn in, and you need to basically defend them and fill them with souls, and when you complete each pylon, you're going to end up getting a reward of some kind inside the pylon itself. So this is going to be one of those objectives that you hope to get nice and early in your game, probably because you can get perks from it as well as just stuff like points. So I think this is a pretty good addition, and as Pack-a-Puncher points out here, this also means that the rhythm of every Outbreak game is going to be pretty different to how it was previously before this map and this new objective came out. You essentially now are going to go much longer between seeing the same maps pop up in your games, and you're undoubtedly going to see completely different speedrunning strats because of this, which should be pretty interesting. Like, this totally shakes up the meta, I think, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on this one for sure. And speaking of the meta changing, obviously if they then add another map in Season 3, it's going to shake the meta up once again, and I think this is going to keep going because Treyarch actually specified that more players played Cold War Zombies during the launch week of Outbreak than have ever played Cold War Zombies before. So we're talking exceeding the numbers that they saw for D Machine on launch, exceeding any time since then. This was the biggest moment there has been so far in Cold War Zombies history, which might be a bit of a surprise for some of you guys, but in my opinion, that is fantastic news because what it's going to do is it's going to make Treyarch kind of wake up to the fact that the zombies community, A, just wants more and more and more content. Like, we are absolutely ravenous for new things, and that's going to encourage them to make new things, but then also that is going to kind of verify their idea that something new might be received really well. Like, I'm sure there were people in the studio that thought Outbreak was going to fail and others that thought Outbreak was going to be the best thing ever, and those two kind of factions would have had to come to an agreement to release it and see how it went. And the fact that it's going so well now is going to give Team Outbreak, so to speak, so much more ammunition to say, hey, we tried some new crazy stuff for the zombie community and it went this well, we should totally try more crazy things in future, and that argument's going to be a lot more easy to win. So I'm pumped for the implications of this. I'm pumped to see what Treyarch might dream up in the coming year for the rest of the Cold War Zombies season. It's definitely an exciting time to be a zombies fan, and just to move away from Outbreak for just 2 seconds, the kind of proof is in the pudding, I guess, because in Dead Ops now, you can earn XP and Battle Pass progression, which should have been in the game at launch in my opinion, but the fact that this has been added now is so good. All of those zombies that you're going to be slaying in that mode are going to finally be actually counting for something other than just like leaderboard stats, and I think it's a perfect representation of the fact that Treyarch kind of acknowledged the time that we put into different zombies modes as players, and they want to reward us sufficiently for that. Dead Ops fans can also look forward to a new Silverback Slideways bonus map that's been added, and They've increased key spawn rates and added additional key locations, which is such good news. More keys, more fun for all the family. Great stuff. It's not just DeadOps getting love as well, by the way. Onslaught has some changes that I think are so overdue, but are so good for the mode. Like, this is basically what I was requesting when I made my original kind of mini review of Onslaught and said that it wasn't really a mode that I expected to sink any time into until they made a couple of really key changes. Those changes are now basically here. So you've got level 2 and level 3 armor drops added to Onslaught. You also have an ammo mod drop that is going to give you an alternate ammo type randomly to your weapon. There's an ether tool drop, which is going to give you an upgrade to the rarity of your weapon. And there are bronze, silver, and gold chalice drops now that will pack a punch your weapon once you get them. That's so good. The mode felt like a just weird hollow shell of the Cold War Zombies experience without those things, and the fact that they're in now is going to mean that, I'm going to sink some time into this and see if it's improved and see how fun it is now. They've also added server pause to private Onslaught matches, which is good news, and there's a new containment mode where you basically do the regular Onslaught-y thing, but it's on close quarters gunfight maps instead of the regular roster. Anyway, I got distracted. Let's get back to Outbreak, because there's like a new Easter egg thingy that they've put in as well. It's basically a hidden objective that you have to find on your minimap. You cannot find it on the main map, which is so cool that they're sort of sneaking in things like this. So let me explain how it works. You're going to find that little radio tower pylon location on the map and run over to it and find a radio little box set on the floor. You need to activate it, and it's going to play a weird noise for about 30 seconds or so, and then if you go back over to it, it's going to say you need to find nearby amplifiers. Also, while you're there, you're going to want to pay attention to the sound that it's now making. So it'll make that initial noise, and then it'll kind of go back to sort of a resting default tone. This is what mine sounds like in my game. And so with that in mind, we're going to go and hunt for those amplifiers. They'll be very near to that original location, and you can hear them kind of buzzing and beeping a little bit as you move around. But once you find one of the amplifiers, go over to it and hold square, and you'll see that you'll be able to change the frequency on it. You need to cycle through until you get the frequency that matches the original one that we were listening to back at the radio box. And this sounds easy, but you'll find that when you change the frequency a couple times, it will go red for a second, and a load of zombies will spawn in that you'll need to take out before you can keep changing the frequency. When you've taken the zombies down and you flick the frequency over to the one that matches your original radio, you can then go and find the next 2 amplifiers, and once you've got all 3 matched to that original signal, you can then go back to where that original signal is coming from, your original radio box, hold square on it. It's going to play you an instrumental version of a Zombies Easter egg song, and it's going to give you a bunch of points and a cassette that you can pick up, which will unlock that very Easter egg song for the music player in the game's menus. There are multiple songs you can get here, so don't just do this once and then never think about doing it ever again. And I think you might get different songs on different maps as well. So keep an eye out for this new Easter egg objective in your games. Also, if you've got a keen ear, you might notice that GK Nova 6 references are being made in this Easter egg, because it's playing some of the original GK Nova 6 chimes when you're flicking through all those different radio frequencies. Here's an example where it goes. Yeah, I know you love my impression. And that's not the only kind of hidden thing that's been added, by the way. Check this out. In the bathhouse in Sanatorium, you can hear noises from like Shino Numa and Verrucht, and just some really creepy sounds. I think there's genuinely a chance that this is hinting towards stuff that we might need to use in the main quest for Outbreak when that comes out in Season 3, so stay tuned on this one. I'll update you guys if any progress gets made. Another thing you might be curious about on Sanatorium is what the holdout room looks like. This is it, and as you can see, you've basically got a kind of loop on the ground floor that you can go through. You've also got a kind of tiny little cupboard room if you want to hold out within the holdout, and you can go upstairs as well. Now, with this addition, there have also been changes made to all of the holdouts on all the maps. They are now 30 seconds shorter universally, which is, I think, a really welcome change. The community is going to like that one. And there is now an ammo crate in the Alpine holdout room where there previously was not one. A couple of other objectives have also had changes too. For example, zombies now no longer despawn when the payload teleports when you're escorting it. That's a pretty similar change to what they did previously with HVTs, so you're going to have to take out those zombies no matter what. They've also addressed an issue where the progress bar for depositing the canister could break during retrieve, which is nice as well. There's also new intel on all the Outbreak maps, so you've got audio logs, radio transmissions, make sure to go find those. They've added dirt bikes, and speaking of dirt, there are a load of bug fixes too, such as field upgrades no longer resetting when you switch regions or just not going to what you choose in the menu itself. They've also fixed an exploit people were using to duplicate the ray gun or the Ray K84 using the Pack-a-Punch machine, and another exploit's been patched which a lot of people were using, where basically you could get a death machine, and then as long as you didn't use all of its ammo, in the next world, it would replenish all of its ammo and you'd have a full death machine again. That's no longer possible. Support weapons in general will no longer be refilled when you warp to new regions. That will probably change speedruns a lot as well, so curious how people are going to react to that one. There's also a kind of small change that a lot of people won't notice, and that's that they've added new, like Black Ops 3 style sort of soundtrack music when you're getting surrounded or chased by a massive horde of zombies, and I think they've also increased the drop rate of armor vests early in the game, so you can get armor from armor vests much more easily now, in my experience at least. Now, I've been talking about Outbreak for ages. Let's go back to some of those global changes because I want to make sure I don't forget those. These are really big in my opinion. Elemental Pop, first of all, has had the intensity of the effect turned down on the outside of your screen when the tier 5 version of it discharges. So previously, whenever you basically got the electric cherry to pop, so to speak, you would end up with like these massive bright flashing lights on your screen. That's been turned down now, thank God. And they've also made a massive nerf to Deadwire. Now, I reckon people are going to be pretty upset about this, but Deadwire was so unbelievably strong before, it had to happen at some point, guys. Deadwire tier 5 now only spreads to 3 targets instead of 5, which is going to mean that its wave clear for hordes is significantly reduced. It's nearly halved. And Deadwire previously was doing the same amount of tick damage to zombies and special enemies, and that has been fixed now too. I suspect people are going to be pretty sad about this, but I would really highly recommend you check out some of the other AATs because they are really strong, and I'll be making a full video about this in the coming days, basically comparing all of them so that you guys can make sure you're using whatever is most fitting to your situation, because it's not as obvious as you might think. For now though, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to have videos on screen that you can click if you want more zombies content from me, and I'd also really appreciate if in the comments down below, guys, you could let me know what you'd like to see from me next on my channel, because while zombies in a bit of a lull, there's not a huge amount of new content coming out, I want to make sure that I'm still pumping out videos for you guys, and some ideas would be really appreciated. Thanks, I'll see you next time, bye for now.